All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And I know on this live stream we have people representing each one of those time zones or sections in the day. But I hope your day is going very well. Welcome to this edition of a live stream on regarding decentralized AI. And I'm really excited to bring to you some leaders in the space, as well as a community effort that has really kind of produced this amazing manifesto. And we want to use this as an opportunity to tell the world what is DAI, how we see it from an application perspective, and encourage everyone to get on board and sign the manifesto that we're going to go through. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so let me take a step back. My name's Kyle Langham. I'm from the DFINITY Foundation. I'm joined by Jennifer Tran from the DFINITY Foundation as well, who's leading our AI growth initiatives. And really excited to have from onicai, Patrick and Arjun. How are you guys doing today?
Good, yeah. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, doing great. Thank you.
So onicai's been a leader in on-chain LLMs. I think you guys may actually be the first to ever get a LLM to run fully on-chain. I'll let you guys fact check that, but from my perspective, that's true. But why don't you guys kind of give some background on onicai and what it is you guys do and kind of give me the origin story as well.
Yes, so you are right, but I let Arjan talk about it more in a second. So actually, that's how onicai and got started. So I saw Arjan's work with on-chain large language models. I was working on decentralized AI from the angle of on-device, so really serving models directly to the user's device, whether it's a laptop or smartphone, so they can use it easily in the web browser. And Arjan saw my work, and we just started talking. And one of the things that came out of that was really onicai as the decentralized AI player that we are for ICP. And actually, the other thing and the first thing was the decentralized AI working group for ICP. So because we decided this is great, Arjan and I were talking about decentralized AI on ICP, exchanging knowledge, and we said it would be awesome to just open this up. And then we made a public forum post, got good interest, and a couple of weeks later had the first call and of the DAI working group. And that's 1 year now that we've been having these weekly calls. And yeah, I let Arjan chime in a bit more on-chain LLMs and onicai as well.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, thanks, Kyle, for organizing this. I think it's really, really cool to get together, chat about it. So yeah, if you look at onicai, it actually stands for on IC AI. So that's all we do. And the way I got started is I kind of stumbled on it. So I discovered the internet computer, I think a few months after Genesis, and I just thought it was an amazing environment as a developer to work on, because I come more from the traditional cloud environments, and I know how hard it is to deploy there. So I really got at it like, okay, this is amazing to be able to develop all this stuff so easily and deploy it. And then I started working on trying to get chatbots to run on the internet computer. That was even before LLMs were a thing. They didn't even exist in our knowledge of the space. So I started working on that. And then when the LLMs came out, I thought, well, that's actually really cool. That's perfect. I was working on the C++ CDK, and I found an LLM which was a single C routine. That's really it. And I was able to get that to run on the internet computer. And I do believe that was the first LLM that ever ran on the internet computer. And it was in August 23. So it's a little while ago now already. So yeah, that's how I got into it.
Well, you know how groundbreaking that accomplishment was when the fact that is I could have told you it was August 2023. At least that you posted in the forum. I've referenced it in talks as I've talked about AI on the internet computer.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So kudos to that. Let's give up. So the audience, DAI is probably a word that's been thrown around pretty often. And I'm not sure, it could be one of those things in which a lot of people don't quite actually understand what DAI actually is. How does it different from, let's say, from like DeFi, or even how is it different from like a ChatGPT or a centralized LLM? Do you guys want to kind of give some background on DAI and what that term really even means?
Yeah, it's I think that's a good idea, and I agree. It's a very broad term. So I personally count a couple of topics underneath. There is Edge AI, where you run the AI models on a user's device. There are embedded AI systems, so you really run the algorithms on a device that's, for example, under the control of a company like a machine. And then there's really on-chain AI, and that means running the AI models directly on a decentralized network like ICP. And so there are a couple of topics there. We focus on full decentralization of the AI application. That means running as much as possible on chain, and then other parts on the edge, so on the user's device. Maybe the difference really to centralized AI is that as much as possible, the control is pushed to the user of the AI. So with centralized AI, usually we are just consumers of the application. You go to a ChatGPT or whatever service you have, and there everything is controlled by the company that provides the service, and you're just a consumer that interacts with it, like with a traditional Web 2 application. With DAI, what we really try to do is that you have much bigger guarantees about what kind of system you're running and control over it. So it could be that you're hosting your own canisters with large language models directly on ICP, or you have an open source application that you interact with, and so you can verify it, or you even leverage your own devices to run at least part of the application. So there are the control and the verifiability are really pushed to the individual users instead of it all coming from a few centralized hands.
I love it. I know, talking with a lot of people in the industry, a lot of times you say DAI and they think, oh, that's a hardware thing, like Render and BitTensor, like these blockchain projects that are essentially just sharing pools of GPUs. Or they think of it from the perspective of you hook a token ledger up to an AI agent somehow, but yet the computation is still done through ChatGPT, like a ChatGPT plugin or something like that. So just to everyone, kind of like broaden everyone's mind, you're talking about something completely different than those two examples, right?
Yeah. I think it's like what Patrick said. I think what we're really talking about, and I think that's what the whole group, the working group, is talking about, is that it's just AI that is not run centrally. It's decentralized, and that means that everything needs to be in the hands of in the creator and ideally even the end user. Talk about the data, the models. When you interact with the AI, that actually those interactions also stay under your control, that they don't go to a central entity and they're gone in God knows where. So that's what we're talking about. It's really about control, ownership, and visibility, transparency. Yeah.
I love it. I always say, how much do you trust Microsoft with your private keys? Is the way to say. Jennifer, I'd love to get your opinion in terms of like what is the applications that you're seeing on DAI from the perspective of, as we're talking about decentralization of the AI application.
Yeah, I've seen like a wide variety of different ideas that have come through like the grants program and also through the working group, like everything from deploying your own agent on ICP, actually like owning the agent and the data behind it, to again some of the use cases that you have mentioned, for example, being able to actually like interact with actually being able to hook up like a token ledger to an agent. Some other really interesting ideas that have kind of stemmed recently is, for example, this concept of proof of inferencing. This idea that like there's kind of kind of a ledger of the inferences like being made in application, because like how do you actually really know that, for example, any of these chatbots that's feeding you information is actually getting it from an LLM, as opposed to, for example, as like a company just feeding you the information. So there's a couple of teams that are kind of on this concept of proof of inference. Also, just being able to use ICP also as a monetization mechanism. So we know that with LLMs, like there's a lot of these like micro payments that could have happened. Also, a lot of data providers are actually not being paid. So being able to actually track, know who's actually sourcing the data that's being trained on LLMs, and then actually just like autonomously paying them whenever data is being used. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of interesting kind of use cases that are kind of coming out with this concept of decentralized AI. But I also think that because an ICP, we kind of take it another step where it's this idea that you're putting like AI on chain. I think it's also sometimes hard for people to kind of like really think about like some or really the use cases. I also think that they're also trying to figure out like the hardware side, like how like what can you do with like AI right now with, I mean, ICP is definitely very powerful, but like what are like how can you actually use like AI on chain as opposed to using like a centralized server that might have other like computation or like GPU requirements.
I love that last thing you said, because it just reminds me of how the internet kind of took shape in the 90s, where it was hardware was the original focus, right? So like putting in cabling, the routers from Cisco, the database structure from Oracle, like all of that kind of came first. And then the application layer came next. So it makes sense that as an industry, we focus first on the hardware. And I love that we're so quickly already transitioning to the application level. You mentioned some words. So you mentioned inference, and that's a word that I'm not sure a lot of people in the audience are familiar with, unless you're familiar with AI. Give us kind of the background of, or help us understand like the difference between an inference engine versus like training a model, and why we're so focused on inference.
You want to go do that, Patrick?
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
So
wake up.
I thought this one was for Jennifer still.
No.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So inference is really during runtime. So the training step happens first. Actually, many training steps. It's a long, intensive process with a lot of data input to get the large language model really to learn vocabulary space that it can then later use during inference. And during inference, it uses this word space that it learned to probabilistically generate the next word. So based on the input, it looks at it, and then it computes, okay, given these words, what should be the next word? And so that's really querying a model that's already been trained. And you can afterwards continue training it. So there are also on ICP, we're looking into use cases where you fine-tune a model. So you first have the general training, where it kind of learns to speak a language, for example, English or different languages, and then you might want to specialize it for a given use case, and that's called fine-tuning then. And you give it like really dedicated knowledge for the context that you're in, let's say DeFi, for example, and then specialize it on that. And then once you run inference on it later, it will be, the hope is that it will provide much better answers. So yeah, inference is really the runtime when you ask it a question.
Maybe I'd like to add one thing that I think a lot of people initially don't understand is, I think a lot of people understand that during training, there's a lot of computation being done because you have this big model that you're training. But then during inference, you use that same model. And what you do during inference, you actually, you pass through that same model again, and you ask the model to generate the next token of the answer. So with AI, with the LLMs, it's literally the answer being generated token by token by token by token every time you go through that calculation. So inference is actually very compute intensive, and a lot of people don't grasp it in the beginning. But yeah, that's why you do need a pretty powerful environment to run the inferencing as well. And the IC last year has just made incredible progress in being able to do inferencing in a canister. Last year, it was not even close to be able to do that. So.
Yeah, I love that. I see Stan has this question about is inference better with GPUs or CPUs? You guys can answer that real quick.
Yeah, GPUs is better, but CPUs are also very powerful, and there's actually a big focus in the LLM development, LLM software development, to make it work better and better and better on CPUs, because it's cheaper, and it's definitely possible to do inference on CPUs very efficiently.
I love it. It's phenomenal that we have engineers and developers who have figured out how to get inference running on a blockchain, which is just mind blowing. But that brings us then. So now, essentially, that opens up the fact that we have the capacity for DAI, for decentralized AI. We have a DAI working group that has been plugging away for about a year now. And one of the outputs of that group is a manifesto. So kind of give me the background of how we came about to writing a manifesto. What was like the rationale of the need to produce this work?
Yeah, so I would say it was like a few months ago. We had also a joint session with some of your colleagues at Dfinity, like Jennifer, for example, and colleagues at the growth team, marketing team, and some engineers, and together with the DAI group, because Dfinity wanted to support the group more, and we were also interested to collaborate. And one of the ideas that came out of this call was to put down the shared values that the group has. So we are still very early. There are, I would say, a fair number of builders or DAI builders on ICP, but we're still early, and we wanted to put down these shared values to kind of have a document to point to, and also to guide us building DAI solutions in the future. And then on the weekly calls, we discussed what should go in there, started to write a draft, went over it, and happy that we have the result now, and I think it was a great collaborative effort.
Love it. I'll pull it up now. Anyone following online, you can visit DAImanifesto.com. You see the URL right there on the screen. It's going to take you to a webpage that looks a lot like this. So let's just walk through some of the key components here. We don't have to read word by word, but because I think the real meat of this is your 7 points of essentially that, like, hey, this is the agreement that these are the principles that we have. So as people kind of read through, to give some background of the vision. But let's talk about DAI being safe AI, self-sovereign AI, and secure AI. The 3 S's right here. And these I think really paint a great picture of why this is needed relative to like a centralized AI system. So let's first talk about safe AI. What exactly is safe AI?
So this is really, we put it first because this is something we believe should be included in any technical solution, DAI, but also AI in general. It's just important to make sure that it doesn't do any harm specifically to the user. That's the biggest priority, because we are talking about a very powerful technology, and the more powerful the technology is, the more harm it can potentially do. And so the first principle we laid out there really was to make sure we keep this in mind. It's a powerful technology, and we want to build it in a safe way. And that means making sure that the user rights are respected, that the functionality cannot be hacked and attacked, and such that the user data and is really kept in a safe place, and we wanted to make sure that we are all building towards that, versus doing that behind closed doors where nobody really knows what is still safe. So it goes really hand in hand with the values that we share as a group.
Yeah, I like how that you group these three together, because you almost cannot have safe AI without self-sovereign and secure, and the other way around. I think if any of those three falls off, you're in a bad spot. So,
in terms of safe AI, why can't Google just do this for us? What are the limitations with the centralized AI in terms of safety?
they could, but you have to trust them that they do it. It's a trust level, and I think with decentralization, you put another layer of transparency on it. So there's actually another item if you scroll down. That's the verifiable. It's still actually number 7. So I think that the question, if you talk about entities like Google, yes, they can make it very safe. Not self-sovereign. They cannot, because they're not going to give it away. But verifiability and transparency, that's very hard. You can check it. So, and I think that's a key component of decentralized AI.
And as mentioned, everybody who's building AI should. So it's this is not just valid for DAI, but it should also be valid for companies like Google, OpenAI. We think DAI has the opportunity to build a very safe system because we don't have single points of failure in the system. We're building a system that is standing on several pillars and not just coming out of a few hands to the many, but many eyes and many hands working on it. So there isn't just one point where you can kind of attack the system and have consequences that wouldn't be safe. So we think DAI, just the approach we're taking, has potential benefits in being safe.
I love this statement right here. Privacy is a guarantee, not just a feature. I mean, and I would say so far in AI, it hasn't even been a feature yet. So in terms of your data, in terms of your prompts, so walk us through, like, how do you secure an AI?
Yeah, so you're definitely right. So far, this has really just been a side note, at least when it comes to the big solutions. We see a lot of work going on, kind of this counter trend towards smaller, more efficient AI models. And these are really meant to run in constrained environments, which are usually under the control of not the big players, but the smaller players. These might be smaller companies, or they might even be individuals and users. So the secure aspect really comes into play in this counter trend towards smaller models, and by running them in an environment that you as a user control, you know that your data and the computations, they can stay private if you choose to, and so that is something that we thus wanted to put in there, because with the AI, where the control is given to the user, privacy is a guarantee then.
Love it.
Maybe an actual example might also be helpful. Is because in a lot of cases when you use an AI out of the box, it's not really doing the job for you as either a company or a person, and you often have to augment it with your own data. So for a company, that would be intellectual property that you want to make available to the AI, so you can get more benefit from it. Or on an individual level, my favorite example is either something to do with your own finances or your own health. You're not going to upload that to a centralized AI. You're just not going to do that. But be able to provide it to an AI as this additional data, and there are techniques to do that, is hugely beneficial, so that you can actually get more out of it when you're interacting with the AI. And that's in our view is only possible when you really give the user control and access and full sovereignty on where the data is, how you use it, and who gets access to it. And that's what it's all about.
I love, I always like to reference talking about use cases. And I think that it's really helpful for the audience when they hear a use case. So instead of like broad terms, they're like, oh, I can see the market potential for this, for security of AI. And I always use the example of one of my neighbors works for Coke, and Coke has Coke GPT. It's an internal system that they've started real small scale, but the goal is to grow it to be, an AI that Coke employees reference regardless of what department you are. So you can go to the AI and say, hey, did this invoice get paid yet? Give me the date, give me the reference. Hey, what were our sales for, the Southeast region of the United States from this date range? And like an all-knowing enterprise system. And you could just easily imagine how useful it would be to Pepsi if they could gain access to that AI, or even worse, train it on some bad data that then make the AI Coke GPT malignant and giving bad data. So these AIs are easily going to become honeypots for enterprises, and you could easily understand why security is going to be the top priority for any enterprise using AI heavily in their ways of working.
Jennifer, sure, yeah, they become big targets, right? So that makes it harder to keep them safe and secure.
Yeah, 100%. Is a decentralized AI becomes more secure because ...
Yeah, we think one of the potentials is really if each of us is running their own AI model in a canister, for example, maybe also utilizing our own devices in addition, then each of us becomes a very small little target, and for attackers that makes it much tougher to get any benefit out of it. If they attack something like a Coke GPT and they get like 1 billion data points, well, that sounds pretty promising. But if you just have to hack into my AI to get my data and then afterwards same effort for Ion's AI, well, that could be not really make it worth it. So there is this benefit of having smaller targets.
Yeah, and I think also if we talk specifically about the IC, I mean that the fact that you can have an AI running in a canister and then using cryptographic technology, you actually have control over that. And it's verifiable. You can actually see who controls that canister and who can get the data out. And that is just near impossible to do on a traditional cloud. So.
Love it. Building out innovation that can't be built out on a Web 2 infrastructure is all why the IC exists. One of those also reasons why IC exists, Jennifer, I'd love to get your impression, because accessible AI really makes me think about the vision of the world computer and accessibility. Can you kind of walk us through what accessible AI means in this context?
Yeah, so really accessible AI really talks about just really giving like DAI the pretty much making it available to all. So I think like a huge part of that could be more of this infrastructure, but also like the ability to actually use it as well. So a couple of things, right? Is one, is of course like access to that infrastructure. And so like, anyone, for example, an ICP can, spin up a canister and actually, create create like a canister that interacts with any on-chain like AI, for example. But also the other part is just making like these tools available for everyone. So this idea that anyone can access it, like in theory, like no one can be blocked from accessing like a tool that they want to use for some certain reasons. Like we've seen many situations in the centralized internet world where creators, developers are blocked for like very arbitrary reasons to using infrastructure or to be able to access some sort of tool for reasons that they don't really know much about. I mean, I can just talk about just maybe not I don't have a great example on the AI part, but just even for example, like how many YouTube creators you've heard that have been blocked, had their video blocked, for example, and they really can't get a hold of YouTube to unblock it, right? So this idea that AI is kind of accessible to all, both on the infrastructure side, but also just on the ability to use it on the app side as well.
Awesome. Love it. I love it. Yeah. I think like debanked, that's a big topic right now on the Bitcoin side of things, is people being debanked from their financial institutions. And that's why another reason why like crypto needs to exist. And so falls right in the same avenue. Let's talk about these last two that we haven't touched on: participatory and responsible AI. Give me kind of walk us through what these terms mean.
Yeah, so I'd say participatory AI is really the other side of the coin of accessible AI. So by basically having this approach of AI from the many for the many, and making it easy for you and me to create our own AI solutions versus just consuming from the big players, innovation really is opened up, and anyone who wants to can then create an AI that just fits their context, fits their use case. And that again makes it much more accessible, because we are getting away from this one size fits all. And each creator can then create the perfect AI fitting for their target audience and make it very easy for them to use. And one of the main things we're actually seeing that where central AI is a threat is like stifling this innovation, and DAI can make it easy for any creator, any developer to create their own AI, spin it up easily, and really cater to their users and their target audience. And having this promise to make this creation process easy, that's covered there.
Love it. I love that you guys wrote the manifesto from a very non-Web3 perspective. You don't see a lot of like the Web3 terminology in here. It's very principle based, and it's not even focused on ICP at all, which I think just kind of paints the picture of the scale of what you're trying to accomplish, right? You're not trying to build one or two applications. You're trying to actually start a movement towards more responsible and meaningful AI. So that's, I mean, kudos on that. I saw some great questions, if I could ask. There was a question by Marcus. Let me see if I got this. Nope, that was the wrong one. Where'd it go? Regarding cycle burn. This is, oh, here we go. Isn't it expensive regarding the burn cycles to host AI and run the inference on chain? You guys have any experience or numbers here? I know I've seen some tweets from you in terms of cost. So speak on that in terms of, as it stands now, how much cost and complexity does decentralizing AI add relative to the centralized version?
Yeah, so let me first talk about a cost that's not there, and that's the deployment, right? So if you have an LLM and you have it, and you want to run it somewhere, and you say, okay, I'm going to put it in a traditional cloud. That's a high cost. It's very difficult and hard. You need to be a DevOps expert to put it in a traditional cloud. You put on a Kubernetes cluster. It's very, very expensive. You need a database, you need all that stuff. You need an IT team to do that. So that cost is not there, right? Because at the IC, you have your LLM in WebAssembly format, and you literally just deploy, boom, it's there. It's very, very easy. So that's a cost you save. Now to actually then run an inference, that's where the IC at the moment is more expensive than running it in a traditional cloud, because every computation in the current version of the protocol does go through a full consensus, and that's expensive. So yeah, today you are spending more per inference call than what you do on a traditional cloud. But that's one of the areas where I see the ICP protocol further mature and bring those costs down.
I always like to say, like, is it expensive? If it's the only place to actually accomplish this,
right? That's true. Yes, yeah, that's
so
right.
it's if you can build products that can't be built elsewhere, then it's not expensive. So it all depends on the product. I love those answers. I had talking about the deployment. I'll give a little plug. I see in the comments everyone's not everyone, but a lot of people are posting about caffeine. And when you catch on to that, the amount of work it takes to deploy an application on a Web 2 tech stack, you might start to see the power of a product like caffeine, or and I love the fact that even applies over to the LLM space as well. When you think about deploying small scale LLMs that are very fine tuned for specific tasks, that can be a huge advantage for going for quantity rather than like giant size.
Yeah.
It's a perfect example really of accessible AI and participatory AI, making it so easy with one click of a button to spin up your own AI solution. That's amazing, and really speaks to the value of the network.
Yeah, and the fact that the canister has state and compute in one is huge for this application, because in traditional cloud you have to go get a database, and databases you pay a lot for, and then you have to connect the compute with that database. It's just very, very complex, and to get these LLMs to run in a canister, it's all just right there. You upload the data, it's there, you load it in memory, you run it. It's just it's a whole different easy way of doing it, and caffeine makes it even easier. So
yeah, you're making me harken back to my days working for a larger corporation in the IT department and having to go into AWS and set up databases. And you're this is a small thing I'm trying to accomplish. Why is it going to take me 3 days to get everything set up?
Yeah.
I love it. So Jennifer, I'm going to come over here. I mean, obviously, you guys have this great manifesto. Anyone can see it. Let me put back up the web page, the URL. I encourage everyone, if everything you're hearing today, if you agree with these statements that you see here, these 7 statements regarding decentralized AI, I encourage you to do it now. You're already on your computer or on your cell phone. Go to DAImanifesto.com, read through this manifesto. If you get to the bottom here, you can see a place where you can sign the manifesto. You have the organizations that have come together as part of the working group to create this. And then add your name to this list of people who have already signed in, I don't know, maybe the first week or so, this manifesto. I myself am going to sign it right now. I've been holding off. Jennifer, have you signed here yet?
Yes, I've signed it with a whole bunch of other folks. I think that a lot of Dfinity team members has also signed it as well. Overall, I think the Dfinity Foundation is very supportive of the work that's been done with the DAI Manifesto.
I love it. I've enshrined my name right here.
Yeah, you did find.
Nice.
Right. Yeah, we've got another signature.
Awesome. Do we touch on anything? Is there anything we missed that you guys want to touch on before we wrap up?
Yeah, let me also extend an invite to the DAI working group. So we meet each Thursday on Discord. And if you are building a DAI solution, if you're interested, an enthusiast, whatever your interest is in DAI, please come and join us. And we have different kind of calls. Sometimes it's demos, sometimes it's topic discussions. Everybody brings the topics they want to talk about, and we make sure it fits into the agenda. So yeah, maybe see you there.
We'll try to get the link in the comments on X and on YouTube. So the link will be there. But yeah, definitely join. This is where real innovation's happening, and so I recommend everyone visit that. Patrick and I, give us just where can people find you if they want to learn more, if they want to connect with you, and then where can they follow for onicai?
Yeah, so our webpage is onicai.com, and our Twitter is @onicai HQ. Can I put it somewhere in the chat?
Yeah, if you post on the if you go over to where it says comments, you should be able to post it
Perfect.
on the guide HQ. Let me also add it as a banner.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Jennifer, where can people go to stay up to date on everything happening decentralized AI on the internet computer?
Yeah, so they can follow Dfinity as well as Dfinity Dev. Also, the DAI working group does have a forum post and also a GitHub where they do list all the meeting notes. So pretty much a lot of the announcements in terms of what the teams are working on are also listed there. But we also make an effort to post them across all the Dfinity channels.
Love it. I appreciate so much the work that everyone on this call is doing, that and that the working group is doing. I mean, we're standing at this like bleeding edge of this cross section of like AI moving so fast. The technology is evolving like quicker than we can even comprehend. At the same time, we have people working diligently like yourselves, focused on keeping safe and keeping secure, and making sure that AI is a net benefit for us, building unique products to actually extend the internet. So really, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. It was great chatting through it.
Yeah, we'll be hearing a lot more from you, I'm sure. All right, to everyone watching, I really appreciate your time, and keep up to date. Again, go sign that manifesto, add your name to history, and we'll see you on the next live stream. Bye.
Great.